The bitter wind clawed at Philip's jacket as he trudged up the icy slope, struggling with every step. What was supposed to be a routine hike to install a satellite device in the Alaskan mountains quickly turned into something extraordinary. As he reached the summit, his breath caught in his throat. Lying ahead of him, half buried in snow and time, was a massive, rusted airplane. Its tail jutted out like the skeleton of some forgotten giant. How had something this large gone unnoticed for decades? And more importantly, what secrets was it hiding? The plane looked ancient. Its windows were blacked out with tape, and the snow around it had settled deep, preserving it like a frozen tomb. Philip was alone, and the sun was beginning to dip below the horizon. He considered trying to get inside, but quickly realized the risks. If he slipped or got hurt, there'd be no one to help him. He needed backup. With trembling fingers, he fired his flare into the sky and prayed someone would see it. Hours later, a helicopter sliced through the Arctic silence. Two of Philip's trusted colleagues, Lincoln and Greg, answered the call. The three of them stared in disbelief at the mysterious aircraft. It was intact, eerily so. No record of it existed in local archives. It was as if it had simply fallen off the face of the earth. But the second Philip stepped inside through a small hatch they managed to open, they realized this wasn't just a lost plane. This was a time capsule hiding something someone didn't want found. Just days earlier, Philip had received a strange, anonymous letter in his mailbox. It was unsigned, with no return address. The message? The answers lie beyond the mountain. You were chosen. He thought it was a prank, until another note appeared, guiding him to a cabin deep in the woods, where an old man silently handed him a set of coordinates. Those numbers led him here, to this mountain, to this plain. And now, with Lincoln and Greg beside him, it was time to uncover what it was all leading to. Inside, crates lined the walls, sealed tight and stacked like a fortress. In the cockpit, there were no bodies, no signs of life, just silence. And then Philip found something strange wedged in the tail, the plane's black box. Only when he opened it, the data drive was missing. That's when the pieces started falling into place. Someone wanted this plane hidden. Someone had erased its history. But who? Before they could explore further, the rumble of rotors returned, this time not from friends. A police chopper circled overhead, and within minutes, snowmobiles surrounded them. Officers rushed out, weapons drawn. The trio raised their hands, stunned and confused. Philip clutched the letters, trying to explain, but they were hauled off for questioning. And that's when things took an even stranger turn. At the police station, each of the men was questioned separately. Philip was the last to be called in. He sat in a cold, windowless room, clutching the letters that had guided him here in the first place. When the officers finally asked why he was on that mountain, he laid everything out. How he'd received anonymous instructions, how they led him to the hidden coordinates, and how he'd uncovered a decades-old wreck that no one seemed to know existed. At first, the officers exchanged skeptical glances, until he showed them the letters. That's when their demeanor shifted. The mention of a missing black box memory unit raised alarms. Philip explained how the device was empty, and how the windows of the plane had all been sealed with black tape, deliberately hiding the contents inside. But what truly stunned the investigators was what Lincoln and Greg had found after prying open one of the crates. Solid gold bars. Dozens of them. No markings. No documentation. Just raw, unmistakable wealth packed tightly into forgotten metal tombs. The police now had a full-blown mystery on their hands. One involving a lost aircraft, hidden gold, missing flight data, and an informant that no one could trace. They asked Philip if he would be willing to help. He agreed immediately. Over the following days, Philip, Lincoln, and Greg assisted the authorities as they combed through the wreckage. The plane had no flight number, no insignia, only the faint outline of a 66 on the fuselage, just as the old man in the cafe had mentioned. No records of its departure or arrival were found in any national or international aviation logs. It was as though this plane had never officially existed. The media caught wind of the discovery, and the story made global headlines. "Mysterious plane found in Alaskan mountains," the papers read. But the most curious part remained unsolved. Who had tipped Philip off? Who had known the plane was there? And why choose him? Despite a widespread investigation, the anonymous letter sender was never found. No fingerprints, no camera footage, no trace. But whoever they were, they knew exactly what they were doing. Philip and his friends eventually returned home, hailed as accidental heroes. The story of the plane captivated millions. The mystery of Flight 66 even inspired a best-selling book authored by the trio, part memoir, part investigation. In it they detailed everything: the mountain trek, the buried fuselage, the missing data, and the haunting emptiness of the cockpit. The gold was seized by the government for further analysis, and while many speculated about its origins, ranging from Cold War espionage to rogue treasure flights, no definitive answers ever came. And the absence of flight records, crew lists, or a single identifiable piece of cargo only deepened the enigma. But for Philip, the biggest question remained: why him? He still keeps the letters, framed, sealed behind glass. A constant reminder that sometimes the most incredible journeys begin not with a plan, but with a whisper. And somewhere, out there in the shadows, is someone who knew all along. As the years passed, people continued to speculate about the plane. Some believed it had been part of a covert operation, smuggling gold across borders during a tense geopolitical era. Others swore it was the missing piece in a long-forgotten government cover-up. But no matter how many theories surfaced, no one could find the truth. The memory card from the black box was never recovered, and the cockpit remained eerily devoid of any human trace. No pilot's log, no bodies, nothing but silence and secrecy. Philip, though now back to his usual research work, often finds himself thinking about that cold mountain and the events that unfolded there. Sometimes he wonders if that anonymous tip wasn't random at all. Maybe he was chosen not because he was lucky, but because someone knew he wouldn't stop until he uncovered the truth. And while the mystery of Flight 66 may never be solved entirely, one thing is certain: the story continues to live on, not just in the book or in news reports, but in every curious mind that hears about the plane that disappeared, only to be found decades later, still hiding its secrets.